This is a boy who was able to make $1 billion company and was able to overcome all his adversity. Unlike the other stories of car companies, which later on they end up selling their cars like the Lamborghini and other type of car companies. This car company and also this story ends up to be a good story. And at the end of the day, the story ends when the owner of and also the originator of the one who made that particular car, at the end of the day, he's the owner of that particular company. So today's story, I'll be telling you a person whose first name is the original name of the car company, and also he had to partner up with a second person, and that's where they got that particular name. And that particular person is none other than Henry Royce. I'll be telling you the story of Henry Royce, and Henry Royce was the co-founder of Rolls-Royce. I know you've guessed it that right because of the name of Royce. And the other first name, which is Rolls, which was gotten from Rolls-Royce, was from another person which they had partnered up with later on in his life. And I'll be telling you the story of these two and how they ended up and how the company also ended up succeeding to be one of the most luxurious companies which produces the best cars. So today's story is going to be about the Rolls-Royce, and Henry Royce was born in a poor family during the 1863 over there. They didn't he wasn't getting the best education and also the best life which anybody and also any kid would have imagined, but he was able later on in the years to overcome this. And during this time, they were living in the area of United Kingdom in 1863. So after, and the father was just a poor farmer, and also he was working at he had his own miller, it was a flour miller. And later on in the years during the 1867 over there, the father was able now to leave this particular miller because the miller wasn't producing enough money, and also the miller was bankrupt during the 1867 over there. So Rolls-Royce during that time they were having a very difficult time, and that's when now they decided to go with the father to London and also the other family members, which was also the mother. And after moving to London, that's when now the father was able to be employed to another flour miller. And after being employed to a flour miller, they were able to work, but the father wasn't earning so much money. And this led to Henry Royce to be working as a scarecrow, scaring birds out of farm fields. And this was his first earning, which he could be able to afford and also earn during this time. And later on, unfortunately, at the age of 7, the father was able to die. And after dying, this left a huge gap in the family of Henry Royce and also the mother, because they had so many bills to pay, and also this got the mother into so many debts. And this had to lead to Henry Royce to drop out of school so he can be able to work a full-time job where he'll be able to cater for the mother. Remember, during this time when Henry Royce was working, the Henry Royce wasn't even at the age of 12. He started working as a paper delivery boy, and he was delivering papers to people and also selling papers to people during that time. And this at least he got some little money which could at least bring back to the family and also cater for them. And that's when now Henry Royce was able to earn some good amount of money, but it wasn't really enough to get the mother out of those debts which the mother had. And that's when now the mother had to give up on Henry Royce and take Henry Royce to another old couple, which they will be able to take care of him. Although the old couple also, them, they were struggling. Sometimes they even went hungry without even eating. And this was their main problem. Although the older couple was struggling, but it was at least more than the mother, because the mother was far worse than the old couple. And that's when, after taking Henry to the old couple didn't have enough money to take also him to school, and he was not eating the best foods. He was, some of the times he used to eat double. Every night he used to eat bread dipped in milk, and this was his main meal. And this later on in the years led to some effects on his body, which had led to malnutrition and other effects which also caused him to have health problems later on in his life. And after this particular scenario, the aunt saw that Henry needed some help, and that's when now the aunt did something really nice and decided to give Henry Royce some particular money where he'll be able to go and learn and also be a student in a particular railway company where he'll be able to gain skills, which will be able to help him later on in the years. And the aunt was able to sponsor this particular education, and this education was able to last for years or number of years of 3 years. And before his term and also his course ended, he dropped again in school. And during this period of 3 years, he couldn't afford a house where he could be able to live. And that's when now he got a particular friend. And also this friend of his, the father had a house in that particular city and also county in the United Kingdom. And this father was able to accommodate Henry. And after accommodating Henry, he was able to teach both Henry and also his son on how to make parts and how to use the tools which will be leading to making these particular equipments of the car. And after doing this, the Henry Royce was able to gain a lot of knowledge, and also he was able to be educated very much. And later on in the years is when now Henry Royce started working or going further on his working career and also working for companies where they will be able to make, they were making tools, they were tool making company. And after working for this tool making company, at least he was earning some little amount of money. And this boosted him a lot until to a point where he was able to go to the further step of his life where he was able to work for a particular company where they were making electrical stuffs. And this particular company, when he was working over there, he was able to earn a good amount of money. And that's when now he was able to take his course of electrical engineering for a number of, it was around 3 years. And this was during the 1884s over there. And during this time, he was able, after finishing this course, and this course, he was taking the course at night because during the day he was working, and also at night it was the only free time he was able to get to do this particular course. And he was a very hardworking student. Most of the time his colleagues knew him of staying long days or working, and also he would sleep even working on his job. He just wanted to produce the best. That's when now Henry Royce was able now to finish his education, and this finishing his education, this was able to secure him a good job as a chief electrical engineer in a big company. And this was during the 1880s over there, 1882 over there. So after being able to secure this particular job in a good electrical company, he was able now to do well, and also he was earning a very good amount of money. And this also propelled his life later on until the year of 1884, when this particular company which he was working for collapsed again. And this was a very sad moment for him, because everything as he tried to do seemed to be not going on his way. That's when now he decided to open up his own company with a particular co-worker. And after opening this particular company, their plan was to make electrical items and also electrical fittings for people and also for selling purposes. And that's when now they were able to have a company called FH Royce and Company. And this company was very successful company, and everything was going very well. And they had opened this company with a person called Ernest. And Ernest, they were co-workers before, and they were able to contribute each. Ernest was able to remove 50 euros, and also Henry Royce was able to remove at least 20 euros. And this was their first initial investment in the company. And they hired a particular building in Manchester. In this building, where they were able to sleep on the top floor, and on the down floor was their shop. And as they were making every single day, and also having sleepless nights, making at least equipments which they will be able to sell, soon in their life, the purpose and also the tractions of what they were selling started to hit, and also many people started seeing the quality of goods which they were producing. And that's now when their company started being famous, and also they started producing even at larger quantities. And at this time, Henry Royce he decided to make a particular doorbell, and this doorbell is the one which would take Henry Royce into fame even more. When everybody was interested in this doorbell in the United Kingdom during that time, and during in Britain during that time, and many people were opting to buy this particular item. And this is what also propelled their company into earning more revenues. And later on in the years, they were able now to make even bigger items like generators and also electric cranes. And this was a very good business, and also they were earning so much amount of money during 1897 to 1898 and 1899. They were during this time they were earning around $10,000 per year until 1899, where they were worth around $30,000 per year. Remember, this is 1899, where when you convert that money of during that time to what it is today, it's around $1 million and above over there. So they were already millionaires, and they were earning a good amount of money. And during this time, Ernest and also Henry Royce had decided to marry sisters. And after marrying sisters, this was a very good thing for them, because they were not only business partners, but they were also related, because they had married one in the same family. And that's when now the two decided to, at least they will, after their company was very successful, they decided to now venture on into what they would like to do, and also do other things. And that's when now Henry Royce now decided to, during that time, he didn't decide very well, because during that time it was in 1904 over there when Henry Royce was able to buy a particular car. And when he bought this particular car, it was a car produced in 1901. And the car was a very good car, but it had some particular malfunctions, and also the car wasn't working very well. So that's when now Henry Royce brought up to his expertise and decided to make this particular car. And after making the car, the car was functioning very well, and he did some improvements in the car, and also did some renovations, where he got an idea that why doesn't he make his own car, rather than him improving other cars or this particular car. And that's when now he was able to produce 3 cars during that time in 1904. And these cars were, after producing these cars, they were the best cars which during that time anybody would have. And this was a person which produced the cars without so much amount of resources, but he produced it himself. And that's when now these 3 cars, he gave one to his friend, which was also a brother-in-law, because they had married in the same family. And he gave one to another person, which was also a businessman, and the other one he remained with it. And the car which he gave it to that businessman, the businessman was very happy about this car, and decided to tell another particular businessman, which was a car dealer, about this particular car and about this particular person, which was called Henry Royce. And this particular person which the businessman introduced Henry Royce to was a car dealer, and he was the person which was importing cars from France to bring them to Britain. And he was a very good car dealer, and he was selling large amount of numbers of cars. And not only was he a car dealer, he was also a racer. During the 1903 over there, he had broken many records of the person which had driven the amount of the highest amount of speed, which was 84 miles per hour. And he also broke other records, there was a particular race which was happening from a town to town, which was Paris town and another town, where at least now the number of people which unfortunately succumbed to this particular race were around 34 people, including drivers and also spectators during that time, because during that time there were a lot of the roads were not made fully, and the most of the roads were dusty, and also when they were racing they would create a large amount of cloud and cloud of dust, and this will block the spectators from seeing if a car is coming, and this will lead to so many crashes which killed around 34 people during this particular race. But this particular person was able to overcome it, and he was a particular daredevil. He will do stunts. Not only was he a good driver, but he was also a pilot, and he was the second person in Britain to have a pilot license during this particular time. And this particular person was called Charles Rolls, and that's where you get the name of Rolls Royce. This particular person was called Charles Rolls, and Charles Rolls, now he was able to partner up with Henry Royce, although Charles Rolls was coming from a good family background where they were very rich, and also the car business which he had was sponsored by his father. And unlike Henry Royce, which was coming from a rags to riches particular background where he had to struggle everything, these two were able to partner up, and after partnering up, they were able to produce the first car in 1904. And this first car was a very good hit, and many people liked it. And this car sold around 147 units during that time in 1904. And later on, their second car, which also publicized them even more, they produced it in 1906, which was called the Silver Ghost something Rolls Royce. And this car was the top-notch cars, and it was often referred to the best car during that era, and it was the best car in the world. And one of the things which made it to be referred to as that, the car was coated in pure silver, and it was very comfortable. And one of the things which they did to show that the car was a very good car, they did I think it was a 15,000 mile long endurance run, where the car went for a 15,000 mile drive. And after going for this 15,000 mile drive drive, the car was they took a particular cup of water and placed it to the engine of the car. And after placing it to the engine of the cars, most of the cars during that time, the engine was so shaky, and you couldn't even put a cup of water or any food on top of an engine of a car. But the Rolls-Royce car was very silent, and the water was just still. The engine was like it wasn't even on, and this shocked a lot of people, and this is why it was called the best car during that time. And later on, during 1907 over there, the two people decided to do their own ventures, because the company which they had created was a good company. And also one of the things which led to them going apart and also doing their own adventures is when Charles Rolls asked Henry Royce that if he will be able to make jet engines for him. And Henry Royce refused this because he didn't want to deal and also venture into aeroplanes. And that's when now Charles Rolls decided now to go and do his venturing on pilots, because he believed that aeroplanes and also people which travel by air, they cannot be disturbed by policemen, unlike the people which drive on roads. And that's when now in 1909, the particular Charles Rolls was able to make a record where he was the first person to travel across the British Canal, from going and also coming back, a non-stop flight. And this was a very good thing for him, where he went into public and most of the people knew him, and he was also advertised on the newspaper as a hero, and also a person which brought the courage to the flying industry. After 1 year later, he was involved in an accident. Unfortunately, he succumbed to the death because he took his limits too far. During this time, it was during the 1910 over there, where he was flying in a bad weather day, and there was so much wind, where when he was trying to land, the wind and also the aeroplane had to disintegrated, and he crashed onto the ground, and after crashing, he succumbed to the death as the first British to die on an aeroplane. And this was very sad, and after dying, this led to it was so devastating for Henry Royce, and that's when now Henry Royce and also his health started to deteriorate, and also it wasn't very well for him. Later on, Henry Royce was struggling with the making the type of cars which he wanted, and also designs which will be used in the future. And during the 1930s over there, he also was given a particular titled by the British government. And before this time, during the 1921, they were making nice cars, and these cars were in demand. And if you get a 1921 car, or the 1906 car, which is a silver ghost, and you sell it today, there's one which went for around $30 million, and also it went around $5 million. And these are some of the cars which, when you get a hold of it, they will sell the highest amount of money, because they are deemed to be the gold of cars during that time. And Henry was able now to succumb 3 years after being given this particular title in 1930. And after succumbing to his death, he left a legacy where he was able to leave a company which was the best, and also right now it is the most luxurious company which you'll be able to use as traveling, because it's very comfortable, and also you can just see it on the internet, some of the capabilities which the Rolls-Royce is able to do. And that's the story of Rolls-Royce, and I hope you like this video. And if you liked it, please give this video a thumbs up, and also do me a favor and please subscribe to this channel, and I'll really appreciate